Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds. It's Monday. We lost an hour of sleep. But you know what? At least we're not looking at snow in the forecast, so that's a good thing.
I'll take that any day.
I know. Ned will go no sleep as long as there's no snow. And he didn't get a lot of sleep this weekend because there was a ton of college basketball, a ton of great matchups, ton of great conference championships, and then, of course, Selection Sunday. Any Missouri teams make it in?
They both did. And when I say they, I'm talking about the teams in Springfield. Teams up north did not. Columbia, Missouri, they fired their basketball coach, fired Conzo Martin, which was, to me, a bit of a surprise. But over and above all that, postseason play for both the Lady Bears and the Bears, and that is terrific. You knew the Bears weren't going to get in the NCAA. They just didn't have the credentials to get in there, but they do get in the NIT, which is the nation's oldest tournament. It's been 10 years since the Bears last played in the NIT. This is great. Do have to go on the road. The NIT is now seeded. It never used to be, but because the NCAA now owns the NIT, they seed the teams. And they seed them in pods. Well, the number one seed for the pod that the Bears are in is OU, and that's where the Bears are going, down to Norman, Oklahoma, play the Sooners, and that will be tomorrow night. And they'll play them at 6 o'clock our time. It's the first game of the NIT all across the country. Bears in Oklahoma. Well, the players probably don't know each other very well, but the coaches certainly do. It's Porter Moser, who's coaching Oklahoma. This is his first year down there after 2 decades in the Missouri Valley Conference at Illinois State and Loyola, where he had great success. He was also Dana Ford's head coach at Illinois State. They know each other very well. Team's a little bit different. The Bears do have a chance because the Bears are a very good offensive basketball team. They will not be as big physically as Oklahoma is, and the big difference, Mike, will be the level of schedule that they have. Oklahoma plays in the Big 12. You're playing the defending national champs, Baylor. You're playing the number 1 seed, Kansas. You're playing another NCAA team in Texas Tech. You're playing another NCAA team in TCU. I mean, this is a regular season schedule. Oklahoma was right in there with all those teams. Missouri Valley Conference does not sport that kind of experience. But I wouldn't sell the Bears short. They are capable, especially if they're hot, of playing very well, and Gage Prim is a load to handle for anybody underneath. That game is tomorrow night. The Lady Bears are in the first 4 of the NCAA Women's National Tournament. Lady Bears will play in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they are playing Florida State. I will be very disappointed if the Lady Bears don't win this game. They can beat Florida State. Matter of fact, they have never lost to Florida State. 3-0. But the last time they played was 25 years ago, somewhere around there. Florida State plays in the ACC. Like Oklahoma against the Bears, Florida State plays a very tough schedule. Louisville, North Carolina State. My goodness sake, those are 2 of the top seeds in the women's national tournament. Do the Lady Bears stand a chance? I think they stand a very good chance of winning this one and going on and playing, and their next game would be Ohio State. See what happens, but I'll be disappointed if the Lady Bears don't play very well. That game, incidentally, is Thursday night.
So we got teams playing Tuesday and Thursday. Good luck to the Bears and the Lady Bears. Bears got definitely a full plate, though, against the team that just beat Baylor last week in their championship. It's going to be tough, but anything can happen on that court.
Anything can happen.
And hey, they got into the NIT, so that's great. That's great news in itself and definitely well-deserved. Unfortunately for the Lady Panthers, things didn't turn out the same way, though, did it?
We fully expected the Lady Panthers from Drury to be fighting for a national championship. It will not happen. Of course, they lost, and they lost a game in a regional, which means one and done, you're out of there. They lost to Grand Valley State on Saturday. Grand Valley State's pretty good, but really, Drury had just an off day, and that shouldn't have happened. It did happen. But the fact of the matter remains that Drury's season for both the men and the women is finished. Nonetheless, another great year for the Lady Panthers, and they'll be back next year. They'll be very tough. Amy Egan does a terrific job of coaching this team, and indeed, I really look for a very bright future from them. But for this year, it is all over.
It's unfortunate. Evangel also got some postseason action, though, too. How'd they do?
NAIA team, tournament is back to its old form. There is no such thing as a 1 and 2 anymore. The 2, you remember, used to be down in Branson. Well, that got canceled a couple of years ago. And when that happened, the NAIA said, come on, let's put them all together again. So now they have a huge national tournament, just like they used to. This year, they have different things by also playing in pods. Well, Evangel got invited, and they played in the New Orleans pod. And their competition was Florida College. I'm not familiar at all with Florida College, but Florida College won the game. 75-72, Evangel in it all the way, but the Valor's season is now over, having lost their first game in the NAIA. But we did have tournament representation, and that's the key.
So, Ned, I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever tell me you're going to retire and then you come back a couple weeks later and you're like, psych, I'm going to be like, who do you think you are, Tom Brady?
I can tell you this for what it's worth. I do know how he feels. Brady stepped aside because, the pressure was, hey, you're 44 years old, you can't play anymore. So he said, well, maybe they're right. He took a couple of weeks off on the sidelines, and he said to himself, you know what, I'm really not ready. I'll know when I'm ready. I don't belong on the sidelines. I belong on the field. And if a guy can tell, or a gal for that matter, if anybody can tell themselves that is the case, you still belong in the industry, whatever it might be, then you pursue it. So what if society says it's time for you to go? He says, no, it isn't. I can still play for this team. So he is. Tom Brady is coming back. He will quarterback the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in August. He'll be 45 years old. He thinks that he can take that beating. Of course, he doesn't take that much of a beating because the offensive line protects him pretty well. But it instantly makes Tampa Bay a contender again. Now, here's one of the interesting factors. Tampa Bay is playing in Munich. That's one of their games. They're playing in Munich. It's already on the schedule, but their opponent is not. Will it be the team from Kansas City?
That's what you made the prediction when they first announced it, and I don't know. I think you're right, but like I said, if they make us go back overseas, which they did for the London game, 3-4 years ago, and then of course Mexico City got moved back to LA, or California. It'd be interesting. I'm not looking forward to waking up early for that game, but it is what it is. At least if it works out that way, the Tampa Bay game on their schedule is a away game, so it wouldn't count as a home game. So that would be a good thing too. So we'll see what happens, but definitely crazy, man. Crazy. I honestly, when I saw the announcement over the weekend, I was just kind of waiting for it because I felt like he wasn't going to be
done. It had been predicted that he would come back, and he said you never say never.
Yep, and that's another great example why you never say never. We had state basketball championships going on this weekend, and some pretty good action, really.
Southwest Missouri gets 2 state champions. One is Class 2 boys, who are our friends from Norwood, just down Highway 60. Won the championship in Class 2. And girls Class 3, El Dorado Springs came away with a state championship. So indeed, in the Classes 1, 2, and 3, Southwest Missouri gets 2. Now the 4, 5, and 6s come up this week. And Springfield, or the area, has 2 teams in there. The Nixa Eagles and the Kickapoo Lady Chiefs. They will both be playing in the competition starting later this week in the semifinal round. Both have great teams. Nixa got there by knocking off a pretty good Lee Summit West team, but I'll tell you, Nixa's a good ball club. They can play. And the Lady Chiefs, they're getting in there. Lady Chiefs have Bella Fauntleroy, who's going to Baylor next year. They have a very good basketball team as well. So we're wishing them just an awful lot of luck, and I think it will. Now, there's a third team in there as well, Springfield Catholic. They beat Bolivar in a Class 5 game, so Springfield Catholic is into that state championship round as well. This should be a lot of fun.
A lot of great area representation. We had some college baseball over the weekend as well, once the snow melted. Who got the dubs?
That's a good point that you bring up, because the Friday and Saturday games, the Bears and Arkansas State, were both scrubbed because of the weather, principally cold. And on Saturday it was cold, even though the sun was out. But they played a doubleheader yesterday, and the Bears swept both of them, won 12-3 and 7-1 over Arkansas State. So the Bears' record, Missouri State's record, is now 7-7, and they play KU on Wednesday afternoon at Hammonds Field. Drury went down to Texas to play and got a couple of games in. Actually played 3 games, but the final one was a scrimmage or exhibition game, so it doesn't count. But Drury lost both their games to Angelo State. Angelo State's very good. They are a top-level team. Drury is too, but came up a little bit short. Nonetheless, things will improve. The Drury team is pretty good this year. They can hit the ball and have, but they're also facing a little bit better competition now. Nonetheless, good baseball for these teams, and baseball is here.
Baseball is back on all levels, Ned. Enjoy your Monday. I'll see you tomorrow, sir.